Hi everyone, it's Chenzo from Reality Art Pod. I finally have time to make a video that I've been planning to make for a while, inspired by Cerie's inclusion on Big Brother 25. I thought, now that the Survivor seal's been broken, why not have Big Brother 26 be a full cast of Survivor legends fighting it out to be the next Big Brother champion. For this cast, I obviously didn't include Cerie because I feel like coming off of this season, she definitely wouldn't want to do it again. So I decided to make it a cast of 20, given the fact that there were 17 people on this season and we had 3 non-elimination rounds. Throw in another real double eviction and you can make a cast of 20 work. Given that a lot of Survivor seasons have casts of 20, this felt appropriate to me. So half my cast is from Heroes vs Villains and before, the other half is after. I took into account the diversity mandate, as well as just trying to make it a really good Big Brother cast. Before I get into it, if you like this video, don't forget to subscribe. I do weekly recaps of both Survivor and Big Brother, and at some point soon, I'm gonna run a brand steal of what this season would be like simulated. So let's dive into it. The first person alphabetically I have here is Alicia from Survivor Australia and the first All-Stars. So it's been around 20 years since we last saw her on Survivor, and she clearly hasn't really been in the public eye, but I always really liked her, and she was someone who really stood out to me, who's physically strong, but also not afraid to get in the mix of good drama and make good TV moments. She falls into a category for me as someone who I don't really think we got to know besides just being athletic. I think it's nice having someone to represent the show from the early seasons who never really came back after All-Stars. I wanted to have a throwback, but I didn't include anyone from season 1 of Survivor. I wanted to, but I just couldn't see it happening. There may be some more interest for her to be in the public eye because she was around a year ago spotted on Eliza's Instagram in the picture I'm going to post in the video. That's pretty much the most recent picture I could find from her, but she looks awesome, and she did the Entertainment Weekly quarantine questionnaire. That was back in 2020. When they asked her if she would play again, she said she wouldn't. She's all about moving forward and trying new things, and this would be something different. They also asked her how she felt about her edit, and she felt like she loves to joke, laugh, and have fun, and that wasn't included. So maybe she'd say yes to this. Next, I have Angelina representing the new school. I love Angelina. She really brings a chaotic energy that I feel like would be more interesting to see daily on the live feeds than consolidated into an edited Survivor format. She would be an active player and could come up with some innovative plans. Could she negotiate with Julie about her bob? I think what Big Brother needs is some players who aren't afraid to shake things up and make things interesting, and she's definitely that. I still can't believe that she's only been on Survivor once, given how big and fun of a character she is, and I at this point would put her on pretty much any fan cast that I made for any show. Next on my list, I have Boston Rob, and you can't make a list like this without Rob. He's one of the faces of the show. Also, given how much they'd probably be paid to come on this season, if it's anything like Big Brother 22 rates, it's a good sum of money just to show up for a summer's work, and I think any of these people would say yes to this. Living in the Big Brother house for a summer is a lot easier than living on the island, so I think you'd get a lot of people saying yes to this who normally wouldn't. I'd be interested to see him on this season because I feel like he has a good chance of running it. He's so connected with the old school players. He's recently expressed some interest in trying new things, and I think he's doing a new show that probably no one's going to watch, so I think he'd be down to do this. Up next, I had to put Carolyn from season 44. CBS loves Carolyn, and so do I. Her season of Survivor was so focused on her, and I could see her returning for Survivor 50 if it's another Heroes vs Villains or big season, so I can see CBS putting her on something in between to keep her in our sights. We learned a lot about her backstory, but I feel like I just want to see her on the feeds. If she's on this season, you're always going to be wanting to watch the feed that she's on. She's most likely a floater or a coaster, and a queen that gives us nothing in the game, but I think that she'd definitely do it if she was asked. Next, I have Benjamin, aka Coach. I think Coach is hilarious. CBS makes time for his stories, and imagine a Coach HOH week. I fear that I'm so here for it. The chaos, the stories. We actually need more Coach in a modern world. I don't think he'll ever be asked to be on Survivor again, but there's space for him here. Next up, I have Drea. Drea made an impression on me on her season as someone who's not afraid to play. She found a few advantages and got sniped out of the game in a position where she was a front runner. I think she had so much potential and is a great representative in modern Survivor. She also seems like an interesting person with an inspirational story, but I wanted to add some more athletic females to this cast based on the fact that men have been dominating in physical competitions in recent seasons. Next up, I have James from Survivor China, Micronesia, and Heroes vs Villains, and it's been a while since we last saw James. He's 47 years old now. From my quick turn not so quick Google search, it seems like he's gone back to his grave digging and concrete business. I found what I think to be the most recent picture of him on LinkedIn, but it's unknown what he looks like currently. It's interesting because he used to be a really fit person, and if he still is fit, then he would be a strong physical player, but if he's not, then CBS really loves casting people with wacky careers, and grave digging definitely is a wacky career that they would love making a meal out of. He wasn't really a strong player mentally though, and he's someone who can be easily tricked and manipulated, which is good TV. He's well connected to the old school players, but not with all the new school players because he's kind of invisible now. I think he would be a fan favorite on a return though. Next up, I have Jerry, and there was no question of this for me. She was the first person on my list here, as we haven't seen her since Heroes vs Villains, where she redeemed herself and almost won the whole season. She's still pretty active in the Survivor community. She was just posting pictures with Carla recently recently. She has some built-in allies and could be a dark horse to win Big Brother. She's also a competition threat given how good she was at throwing boomerangs in Australia. Being good at random stuff helps in Big Brother. I don't think that she'd be seen as a threat by anyone, and now she's 53 years old, so it would be nice seeing her on this cast reconnecting with some old castmates, especially Coach, Sandra, Parvati. Next, I have Jeremy Collins representing the newer school of Survivor and a winner, one of the stronger males physically and strategically for the new schoolers here. He would be a leader of that group and is pretty well connected between the old schoolers and the new schoolers, as he was on Winners at War with many of this cast. He's likely a winner candidate. My concern is that I'm not sure how much personal content we really need to see from Jeremy, but I couldn't really make this cast without him. Next, I have Jesse Lopez, another person I'm casting because I think that he represents the future of Survivor, someone who I'd probably put in my shortlist to win this season. He's a strategic player who I think embodies what it would take to maneuver through a 100-day season, and he has a great story that deserves some more time to cook and let us get to know him a little bit more and maybe learn something. Next, I have Jonathan Young, adding some more muscle and brawn to the new school lineup. I think he'll be back again soon on Survivor. You might as well throw him in here. Going on this would probably be a terrible idea for him. The fans would tear him to shreds, and he'd be the target of many a wall yeller, but every season of Big Brother needs a few insufferable jocks to quench Alison Grodner's lustful thirst. She will rig the game in his favor until the house guests force him out. Up next, I have someone, again, we haven't seen in a while, is Lex from Africa and All Stars. Lex was one of the biggest characters of early Survivor, making it to the end game and almost winning it in Africa, then being screwed over by Rob in a way that he was bitter against Rob in the end and costing Rob the win. These two have never squared off to settle this beef, and while so much time has passed between then and now, I can't really see them seeing eye to eye with money on the line, and Lex wouldn't be wanting to get screwed over again by Rob after all this time. I think if he comes back after all this time, he'd definitely be playing to win. I think he's an interesting character as he's obviously heavily tattooed and has some visually evil Dick vibes, but also has such a different personality than Dick and anyone on this cast that it's a welcome addition. Next, a new school winner, I have Michelle Fitzgerald. I'm actually surprised this list isn't too heavy with people who have also been on the challenge, but she's been on so many shows in the last few years that I can't see her not being asked to do this, and I don't think that she's not going to say yes to this, so why not? I guess maybe she would say no because it would be an entire summer where she can't go to DJs in Belmar, but I think she'd actually be a winner pick and a wall comp winner. Next up, I have Natalie Anderson, another winner. We are underserved with Natalie. I think that she adds such a great point of view and spirit, and she represents the athletic females that can be a control against the men winning out here. I feel like she springs up every few years for a show, and it's always a delight. And she was on the challenge briefly. It would be interesting to see how she performs in a more social strategy game because we've never really seen her not have to be super physical. Also, having her and Jeremy on here adds an extra dynamic that I really like. I have Parvati, and I couldn't make this list without her. We got to see a new chapter for her as a mom in Winners at War, but I think the timing of that season was so off for her, and her heart wasn't fully in it. I think we've seen her past her peak performance on Survivor, but I think she'd actually be more suitable for Big Brother given her social ability, charm, game ability, and good challenge performance. Next, I have Rupert, and Rupert is one of the biggest characters in Survivor history. Firstly, I feel like the last time we saw Rupert on Survivor, it doesn't count as he pretty much voted himself out of the game to save his wife, and then kind of made an ass out of himself with his bossiness and behavior on Redemption Island. I'd like to see him back. I feel like Red on Big Brother 25 was a wannabe Rupert-like character, and Rupert is someone who might actually have a chance to do well on Big Brother. He could float right to the end, and we'd get some really interesting and funny moments along the way. I don't think he could ever win, but I don't think he can ever win anything. Sometimes you just gotta cast someone for the giggles, you know? I have Sandra. You've got to have the queen. Given that she sees these shows as a job, I could see her turning up for a $40,000 stipend. I think Big Brother might be good for her. I didn't cast Tony because I feel like he was such a suffocating force on Winners at War, and I don't think Big Brother would be a better show for Tony than Survivor. Given that Sandra's not really a physical player, I could see her actually enjoying being on Big Brother. I do feel like that she would want to leave pre-jury and just go home and get her money, but I decided to include her still. My final female cast member is Tina, who's 62 years old now, and I'm surprised that Tina is only 9 years older than Jerry because I feel like the show always portrayed Tina as way older than she actually was. Given that Felicia on this season is around her age and thriving on the show, I feel like BB could be a good re-entry for Tina into the reality TV universe, and I feel like Tina would be a player that beckons to some old school Big Brother characters, and she'd be a locked endgamer on this season. I feel like who's really gonna vote Tina out if she's on the block with any of these other people? Next up, I have Jam Jam, a new school recent winner. What a great personality that helps to boost my silly character quota on a season full of pretty serious and intense players. I don't really think that he would do well on this and would be a pretty early boot, but that's okay because you can't win everything, but it would be fun to see Carolyn and Jam Jam together on the feeds, even if it's just for a week. Last on my list, I have Zeke. I think that Zeke is a really great player that gets lost in the mix of both of his seasons. never really finding good footing in the game, and I would like to see him take a shot at a different show. I also think there's a lot more to his story than Survivor really has time to flesh out. I also feel like this inclusion would be really great representation on the show and would be a good step in the right direction for Big Brother. So that's it, my 20-person cast for Big Brother All Survivors. Let me know in the comments what you thought of my list. Who would you definitely take off? Who would you add? And who do you think would win this hypothetical season of Big Brother? I'm gonna run a branch seal of this season playing out, so stay tuned for that. I'll post it as a longer video. Subscribe to my channel if you like videos like this, and other than that, I hope you have a nice week. Bye!